The sky over Seoul burned with colors that had no name. Taewon pressed his back against the broken concrete wall and tried to catch his breath. Smoke filled his lungs. Sweat ran down his face, mixing with dust and blood. Above him, the alien ships moved like giant pieces of broken glass, their edges sharp and glowing with purple light. 3 days ago, they came from the stars.
No warning.
No message. Just death and fire falling from the sky. The military called them Velcrans. Taewon called them monsters. Lieutenant, we need to move. Corporal Dong-min shouted from across the rubble-filled street. His uniform was torn and his face was covered in ash. More civilians in the transit station. They're trapped. Taewon nodded and signaled his squad forward. 5 soldiers, all that remained of the 20 he started with. They moved through the ruins of what used to be a busy shopping district. Burnt cars, shattered windows, bodies covered with sheets. This was war. This was hell. The transit station entrance gaped like a broken mouth. The stairs leading down were cracked and unstable. Taewon could hear screaming from below. People were alive down there. People needed help. Dongmin, take 2 men and secure the entrance. Watch for enemy patrols. I'll go down with the others. Taewon checked his rifle. Almost empty. Everything was running out: ammunition, food, hope. He descended into darkness with 2 young soldiers behind him. Their flashlights cut through the dust like thin blades. The air was thick and hard to breathe. Somewhere in the distance, plasma fire crackled. The aliens never stopped hunting. The main platform was a disaster. The ceiling had collapsed in several places. Broken pillars leaned at dangerous angles. And there, huddled against the far wall, were about 30 civilians. Old people, women, children. All of them looked at Taewon with desperate eyes. "We're getting you out," Taewon said, trying to sound confident. "Stay calm. Move slowly. Follow my men." He helped an elderly woman to her feet. Her hands shook. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for coming back for us." Taewon wanted to say something brave, something heroic, but words felt empty when the world was ending. He just nodded and kept moving. That's when he heard it. A small sound. A whimper. Coming from behind a collapsed section of wall. "Get them moving," Taewon told his soldiers. "I heard something." "Sir, we don't have time." "That's an order." Taewon moved toward the sound. His flashlight revealed a gap in the rubble, and there, trapped in a space barely big enough for a child, was something that made his blood freeze. It was a Velcran. But not like the warriors he'd been fighting. This one was small, tiny, a child. Its skin was pale blue, almost white, covered in patterns that looked like snowflakes. Its large eyes, iridescent and shifting colors, stared at him with pure terror. It was bleeding from its leg, trapped under a concrete beam. Taewon's finger moved to his trigger. This was the enemy. These creatures had destroyed his world. Killed his friends. Murdered thousands of innocent people. But it was a child. Just a child. Abandoned and dying. The little Velcran made a sound soft and broken. It reminded Taewon of his nephew crying after a nightmare. The same fear. The same helplessness. "Damn it," Taewon whispered. He lowered his rifle. He moved forward and began pulling away the rubble. The beam was heavy, but he managed to lift it enough for the child to crawl free. It looked at him with confusion, as if it couldn't understand why a human wasn't killing it. "Can you walk?" Taewon asked, knowing it probably didn't understand. The child tried to stand, but collapsed. Its leg was badly injured. Before Taewon could decide what to do next, alarms blared through his helmet radio. "Lieutenant. Enemy patrol incoming. Multiple hostiles. You need to get out now." Taewon looked at the Velcran child, then at the exit. He could leave it here. Should leave it here. It was the enemy's problem, but he couldn't. He picked up the child. It was surprisingly light, barely 30 pounds. It stiffened in his arms, afraid but too weak to fight. Taewon ran for the stairs. He emerged onto street level just as plasma bolts began hitting the ground around him. 3 Velcran warriors, tall and armored, advancing with weapons raised. They were hunting. And then they saw what he was carrying. The warriors stopped firing. One of them shouted something in their clicking musical language. They seemed confused, angry. One raised its weapon again, but another knocked it aside. They were arguing. Taewon used those precious seconds to run. Dongmin and the others laid down covering fire, giving him space. The civilians were already moving through an alley to safety. "What the hell are you carrying?" Dongmin shouted when he saw the alien child. "Just run!" They sprinted through the broken streets. Behind them, more Velcran warriors appeared. The sky above filled with movement. Ships descending. They'd been found. Taiwan's lungs burned. His legs screamed. But he kept running. The small alien pressed against his chest. He could feel its heart beating fast like a frightened bird. They reached an intersection. No way forward. No way left or right. Just walls of fire and collapsed buildings. They were trapped. Get down! Someone screamed. Taiwan threw himself forward, curling his body around the Velcran child as an explosion tore through the world. The force lifted him off his feet and slammed him into concrete. Pain erupted across his back as something sharp punched through his armor. Once, twice, 3 times. He couldn't breathe, couldn't see, couldn't hear anything but ringing, but he didn't let go. His arms stayed locked around the small alien, protecting it with his own body. Debris rained down on him. Something heavy crushed his shoulder. Blood ran hot down his spine. The last thing Taiwan remembered was looking down at the Velcran child's face. Those strange, beautiful eyes staring up at him, one small hand reaching up to touch his cheek as if saying thank you. Then darkness, deep and complete. Somewhere far away, Velcran warriors found them in the rubble. They carefully pulled the small child free from under the broken human soldier. The child was crying, making sounds that translated to one word over and over. Safe, safe, safe. One of the warriors scanned the human, still alive, barely, covered in wounds with Velcran metal fragments embedded deep in his spine. He should have been dead. What do we do with him? One warrior asked. The other looked at the crying child, then at the human who had protected it. We report this to High Consul Ariath immediately. The child's mother? Yes. She needs to know a human saved her son's life. They carried the child away to safety, leaving human medics to find their wounded soldier. But something had changed in that moment beneath the rubble. Something that would reshape the war itself, because Taiwan had done the impossible. He had shown mercy when mercy seemed insane. He had chosen life over hate, and that choice would echo across worlds. Pain was the first thing Taiwan felt, sharp and burning across his back, spreading through his shoulders and down his spine like fire. He tried to move but couldn't. His body felt heavy like someone had filled his bones with lead. Voices floated around him. Distant, muffled. He's waking up. Get Captain Hai Jin. His vitals are still weak. The fragments are still active. 3 weeks and he's finally conscious. I didn't think he'd make it. 3 weeks? That couldn't be right. Taiwan forced his eyes open. Bright lights made him wince. Everything was blurry. Slowly, shapes became clear. White ceiling. Medical equipment. The smell of antiseptic and recycled air. Underground bunker. Had to be. A face appeared above him. A woman with short black hair and hard eyes. Captain Hai Jin, his commanding officer. She looked older than he remembered. More tired? Welcome back, Lieutenant, she said. Her voice was rough, like she hadn't slept in days. We thought we'd lost you. Taiwan tried to speak, but his throat was too dry. Someone held a cup of water to his lips. He drank, coughing, then tried again. The civilians? His voice came out as a whisper. Safe. Most of them. You got them out. Jin pulled up a chair and sat beside his bed. Dongmin is fine too. Asking about you every day. Relief washed over Taiwan. Then memory came flooding back. The transit station. The explosion. The child. The alien. He started. Jin's expression changed. Became careful. The Velcran child. Yes, we need to talk about that. She stood and moved to close the door to his medical room. When she came back, she looked troubled. Taiwan, what you did. Protecting that enemy child. It's caused complications. Is it alive? Yes. We returned it to the Velcrans through a neutral intermediary. Red Cross equivalent. Didn't want them thinking we were keeping it hostage. Jin paused. But here's the thing. That wasn't just any Velcran child. That was Velik, son of High Consul Ariath. The name meant nothing to Taiwan. Ariath is one of their highest military commanders, Jin explained. She commands 3 fleet groups, responsible for most of the attacks on the Eastern Hemisphere. She's powerful, dangerous, and you saved her only child. Taiwan processed this slowly. His mind still felt foggy. What does that mean? It means she's been trying to contact you. For 3 weeks. Every day. She's declared some kind of personal ceasefire around our sector. Her forces won't engage any unit you're assigned to. She's requested a meeting with you, personally. That's a trap. That's what I said. Hyojin leaned forward. But our intelligence people aren't so sure. Velcran culture is strange. They have these honor codes we don't fully understand. Something about life debts and family bonds. Saving a child apparently means something huge to them. Taewon tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain exploded through his back. He gasped, falling back onto the bed. Don't move, Hyojin said quickly. That's the other problem. She gestured to a doctor standing in the corner. He came forward with a tablet showing scans of Taewon's spine. When the building collapsed, you were hit by Velcran weapons fragments. They're embedded in your spine. 3 pieces. We can't remove them. They're too close to vital nerves, and they're not just metal. They're some kind of biotech. Living metal. They're slowly spreading. Taewon stared at the scans. He could see the foreign objects glowing in his spine like small stars. What does that mean? The doctor looked uncomfortable. It means they're killing you slowly. Your body is rejecting them, but they're also preventing your body from healing. You have maybe 6 months, maybe less. We don't have the technology to help you. This is alien tech, beyond anything we understand. The words hit harder than the explosion had. 6 months. Half a year. Then death. Can't you cut them out? You'd be paralyzed or dead. The risk is too high. The doctor looked genuinely sorry. I'm sorry, Lieutenant. We've tried everything. Hyojin dismissed the doctor and waited until they were alone again. There's more, she said quietly. Arayth knows about your condition. Don't ask me how. Their intelligence is scary good. She's offered to help. Says Velcran medicine can heal you. In exchange for what? She won't say. Just keeps asking to meet you. Taewon lay back and stared at the ceiling. 6 months to live. An alien commander wanting to meet him. A child he'd saved for reasons he still didn't fully understand. Nothing made sense anymore. What do you think I should do? He asked. Hyojin was quiet for a long moment. I think this is a trap. I think she's using your condition to manipulate you, but... She hesitated. The war isn't going well, Taewon. We're losing. Badly. Every day more cities fall. More people die. If there's even a small chance this contact could lead to intelligence or negotiation or something that helps us survive. You want me to meet her. I want you to live. But I also want humanity to survive. If you go, you might get information we need. Or you might die anyway, just faster. She put her hand on his shoulder. It's your choice. You've given enough. No one would blame you for refusing. Taewon closed his eyes. He thought about the Velcran child's face. Those terrified eyes. The way it had touched his cheek at the end, right before everything went dark. He'd saved it not because of strategy or intelligence. He'd saved it because it was the right thing to do. Maybe that mattered. Maybe it didn't. I'll think about it, he said finally. Over the next few days, Taewon learned to walk again. His back screamed with every step, but he forced himself to move. Dongmin visited every afternoon, bringing food and news from outside. You're famous, you know, Dongmin said one day. The soldier who protected an enemy child with his own body. It's all over the underground networks. Some people think you're a hero. Others think you're a traitor. What do you think? Dongmin shrugged. I think you did what felt right in the moment. That's all anyone can do. At night, Taewon lay awake and felt the fragments in his spine. They pulsed sometimes like they had their own heartbeat. The pain was getting worse. The doctors increased his medication, but it barely helped. 6 months. Maybe less. On the 7th day, Hyojin returned. The military council has decided. They want you to meet with Arayth. Under strict diplomatic protocols. Neutral ground. The moon station. They think the potential intelligence value is worth the risk. And if I refuse, then you refuse. You're not a prisoner, Taewon. You're a soldier who's given everything, but... She handed him a folder. These are casualty reports from the last week. 5,000 dead. 3 cities burned. The Velcrans are pushing deeper into our territory every day. Taewon opened the folder. Photos of destruction. Lists of names. So many names. Arayth's sector has been quiet since you saved her child, Hyojin continued. 0 attacks. 0 casualties. One woman's decision to honor a debt is saving thousands of lives. Imagine what a real peace talk could do. Taewon looked at the names of the dead, thought about the civilians he'd saved, thought about the child he'd protected for no logical reason. When do we leave? He asked. Hyojin's expression was unreadable. Tomorrow. And Taewon? Be careful. We don't know what she wants. We don't know what this life-debt thing really means. You'll be surrounded by aliens on that station. If something goes wrong, I'll be dead anyway in 6 months. Might as well make it count. That night, Taewon couldn't sleep. He lay in the dark and wondered what the Velcran mother looked like. Wondered what she would say. Wondered if he'd made the right choice in saving her child. But deep down, in a place where logic couldn't reach, he knew he would make the same choice again. Even knowing everything that came after, some things transcended war. Some things were simply human. Tomorrow he would meet the enemy. Tomorrow, everything would change. The transport shuttle climbed through Earth's atmosphere in silence. Taewon sat strapped in his seat, watching his home planet shrink below. Blue and green, marred by dark clouds of smoke from burning cities. It looked fragile from up here. Small. Captain Hyojin sat across from him along with 2 diplomatic officers and 4 armed guards. Everyone was tense. This was technically a peace meeting, but peace was a thin word in wartime. Remember the protocols, one diplomat said for the 3rd time. He was a nervous man named Jae-hyun, constantly adjusting his glasses. No sudden movements. No touching unless they initiate. No direct eye contact unless they speak to you first. Velcrans consider it aggressive. He saved her child, Hyojin said dryly. I think she'll forgive some eye contact. The moon station grew larger in the viewport. It was a neutral zone, built before the war for trade negotiations with other alien species. Now it was one of the few places where humans and Velcrans could meet without immediate violence. The station was beautiful in a cold way. All silver metal and curved glass spinning slowly against the black of space. As they approached, Taewon could see Velcran ships docked on one side, human ships on the other. Everyone keeping their distance. The shuttle docked with a gentle thump. Taewon's stomach tightened. This was it. No turning back now. The airlock opened into a corridor of white walls and soft blue lighting. A station attendant, human, bowed nervously. Welcome, Lieutenant. High Consul Arath is waiting in Conference Room 7. Please follow me. They walked through empty corridors. The station felt like a tomb. Most of the staff had been evacuated when the war started. Only essential personnel remained. The conference room doors were large and made of some translucent material that seemed to glow from within. 2 Velcran guards stood on either side. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, covered in biological armor that shifted colors like oil on water. Their faces were angular, almost beautiful, with those same large, iridescent eyes Taewon remembered from the child. The guards looked at him with expressions he couldn't read. One of them made a gesture, touching its chest with a closed fist. Was that respect, threat? The doors opened. Inside, the room was mostly empty, just a long table and a few chairs. And standing at the far end, looking out a window at Earth, was High Consul Araith. She was taller than her guards, nearly 8 feet. Her armor flowed around her body like liquid silver, moving with each breath. Her skin was pale blue, covered in intricate patterns that seemed to glow faintly. Her hair, if it could be called hair, was long and moved like it was underwater, each strand seeming alive. But it was her eyes that stopped Taewon's breath. When she turned to look at him, her eyes were like looking into galaxies. Swirling colors, depths that seemed infinite. Alien, yes, but not cold. There was warmth there, and something that might have been tears. Leave us, she said. Her voice was melodic, translated by technology but carrying emotion that needed no translation. The guards hesitated. I said, leave, all of you. She looked at Hyojin and the others. I wish to speak with Lieutenant Taewon alone. That's not protocol, the diplomat started. I am High Consul of 3 fleet groups. I do not follow your protocols. But her voice wasn't harsh, just firm. Please, I mean no harm. I wish only to speak with the man who saved my son. Hyojin looked at Taewon. He nodded. Slowly, reluctantly, everyone filed out. The doors closed, leaving him alone with the alien commander. For a long moment, neither spoke. Araith studied him with those impossible eyes. Taewon tried to stand straight despite the pain in his back. Finally, she moved closer. Each step was graceful, almost floating. She stopped a few feet away, towering over him. Then she did something unexpected. She knelt, a high consul, a commander of fleets, kneeling before a human soldier. Thank you, she said softly. Thank you for saving Velik. Thank you for protecting him with your own body. Thank you for showing mercy when you had every reason to hate. Taewon didn't know what to say. Is he okay? He is well, recovering. He asks about you. Calls you the gentle human in our language. A small smile crossed her alien features. You must understand what you did. Velik is my only child. His father died in our civil wars years ago. Velik is all I have left of love in this universe. I'm sorry about his father. War takes much from everyone. She stood again, moving to the window. You wonder why I asked you here? Yes, you are dying. It wasn't a question. Taewon didn't deny it. The fragments in your spine are Velcran biotech. They were never meant to be inside a human body. They are poisoning you, slowly destroying your nervous system. Your doctors cannot help you. They lack the knowledge. I know, but we can help you. She turned back to face him. Velcran medicine is advanced. We can remove the fragments. We can heal the damage. We can give you your life back. Hope flickered in Taewon's chest, but he pushed it down. What do you want in exchange? Nothing. I don't believe you. Araith was silent for a moment. You do not understand our culture. When someone saves a child, especially the child of a high-ranking member of our society, it creates what we call a life bond. You gave Velik his future. That means I owe you a debt that cannot be measured. Helping you is not a trade. It is an obligation, an honor. So you'll just heal me, free? Not exactly free. She moved closer again. Velcran healing for this level of damage requires genetic bonding. We would need to integrate some of our biological technology into your body permanently. It would change you. Not completely. You would still be human, but you would also carry Velcran markers in your DNA. You would become, in a sense, part of my family unit. Taewon took a step back. You want to turn me into one of you? No, I want to save your life. But there are consequences. You would be linked to me and Velik through genetic markers. You would feel emotions from us sometimes. We would feel yours. Not mind reading. More like awareness. You would be able to use some Velcran technology. Your strength and healing would improve. But your humanity would remain intact. And the cost? The cost is that you would no longer be simply human. Some of your people would see you as contaminated, traitor, other. And my people, many would see you as an abomination. A human polluting Velcran genetics. She paused. We would both pay prices for this. Taewon thought about it. 6 months to live, or this. Become something between human and alien, forever marked by the choice. Why, he asked. Why go through all this trouble for one human? Araith's eyes seemed to glow brighter. Because you showed mercy to my child when you could have killed him. Because you protected him with your own body when any sensible soldier would have left him. Because in that one moment you proved that humans are not the mindless warriors my people believe them to be. You proved that compassion exists even in war. She moved to the table and sat, gesturing for him to sit as well. Taewon lowered himself carefully into a chair, his back protesting. I will be honest with you, Lieutenant. I am tired of this war. I am tired of killing. I did not want to invade your world. But my people are desperate. Our home system is dying. Our star is failing. We need a new world, and Earth is compatible with our biology. We came as invaders because we saw no other choice. You're still killing us, yes, and you are killing us. That is the tragedy of war. Both sides believe they are right. Both sides believe they are defending what they love. She looked down at her hands. But maybe there is another way. Maybe your act of mercy can be the first step toward something better. You think saving one child can end a war. No, but it can plant a seed. If I heal you, if you return to your people carrying Velcran genetics, if you survive and thrive, others might see. Others might question. On both sides. Maybe mercy can spread like a virus, infecting both our species with hope. It was a beautiful thought. Naive, maybe, but beautiful. I need time to think, Taewon said. Of course, but do not take too long. The fragments are growing. In 3 months, maybe 4, the damage will be irreversible even for us. Araith stood. I will give you 2 weeks. Then I must have your answer. She walked toward the door, then paused. Lieutenant Taewon, when you held my son in the rubble, when the world was exploding around you, what were you thinking? Taewon remembered that moment. The fear, the pain, the tiny alien in his arms. I was thinking that he was just a child, that every child deserves a chance to live, that maybe if I saved him, someone somewhere might save a human child too. Araith was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was thick with emotion. You are a good man, Lieutenant. Whatever you decide, Know that you have already changed the universe, one act of kindness at a time. She left, and Taewon sat alone in the conference room, staring at Earth through the window. Somewhere down there, the war continued. People were dying. Cities were burning. But up here, for just a moment, there had been understanding between enemies. Maybe that was worth something. Maybe that was worth everything. Taewon returned to Earth a different man. Not physically, not yet, but something inside him had shifted. He'd looked into the eyes of the enemy and seen not a monster, but a mother. It complicated everything. He'd told Ariath he needed time to think. She'd given him 2 weeks. Now back in the underground resistance base, those days were slipping away like water through his fingers. The pain was getting worse. Every morning, Taewon woke up feeling like someone was driving hot nails into his spine. The doctors increased his medication again, but it barely touched the agony anymore. He could feel the fragments growing, spreading through his nervous system like roots digging into soil. Dongmin noticed first. "You're moving slower," his friend said one afternoon as they sat in the mess hall. The food was rationed, tasteless. Everything was in short supply.
"And you're pale."
"Really pale." "I'm fine. You're dying." Dongmin set down his spoon. "Heejin told me. 6 months, maybe less. The alien tech in your spine. She shouldn't have told you. I'm your best friend." "Of course she told me." Dongmin leaned forward. "Did that Velcran consul really offer to heal you?" "Yes. Then why the hell are you still here?" Taewon stared at his food. "Because accepting means becoming part alien. It means changing my DNA. It means being connected to them. What if it's a trick? What if they're using me? What if they're not? What if she's genuine?" Dongmin grabbed Taewon's shoulder. "Brother, I've known you for 10 years. You're the best man I know, and you're going to throw your life away because you're too proud to accept help from someone who happens to be born on a different planet? It's not pride, but then what is it?" Taewon didn't have an answer. Fear, maybe. Fear of change. Fear of becoming something neither human nor Velcron. Fear of being rejected by his own people. That night, the pain got so bad he couldn't sleep. He lay in his bunk, sweating, biting down on his pillow to keep from screaming. The fragments felt like they were on fire, burning their way through his spine. By morning, he could barely stand. 3 days later, Captain Heejin gave him new orders. A covert mission. Intelligence had located a Velcran supply depot in the ruins of what used to be Busan. Small force. "Quick strike. In and out. I'm putting you on light duty," Heejin said. "Just observation. Dongmin leads the assault team. You stay back and coordinate." Clear, it wasn't clear. Taewon could see the concern in her eyes. She was keeping him away from combat because she knew he was breaking down, but he was still a soldier. He still had a job to do. The mission launched at midnight. 10 soldiers moving through the dark streets of dead Busan. The city was a graveyard. Buildings stood like broken teeth against the sky. Fires burned in the distance, never quite dying out. Taewon took position on a rooftop overlooking the depot. His rifle scope showed enemy movement. 4 Velcran guards, maybe more inside. It should have been a clean operation. It wasn't. The assault team moved in. Dongmin signaled, "Go time." But as they breached the depot, alarms blared. Lights flooded the area. And suddenly there were Velcrans everywhere. Not 4 guards, dozens. It was an ambush. "Fall back," Taewon shouted into his radio. "It's a trap. Get out." Plasma fire lit up the night. Taewon's team was pinned down, caught in a killing field. He watched through his scope as 2 soldiers went down. Then 3. Dongmin was trying to organize a retreat, but there was nowhere to go. They were going to die. Taewon grabbed his rifle and ran. His back screamed. His legs barely worked, but he ran anyway, down the stairs into the street toward his dying friends. He opened fire on the Velcran positions, drawing their attention. Bought his team a few seconds. Dongmin got 2 wounded soldiers moving. But then more Velcrans appeared, cutting off the escape route. This was it. The end. And then the Velcran forces stopped shooting, just stopped. Taewon blinked, confused. The enemy warriors were looking at something behind him. Their weapons lowered. Some of them took steps back. He turned. Araith stood there. She wore full combat armor, gleaming and deadly. Behind her were more Velcrans, but these bore different markings. Her personal guard. She must have been in the area. Must have detected the battle. She walked past Taewon like he was invisible, moving toward the Velcran ambush force. She spoke in her language, sharp and commanding. The other Velcrans responded with gestures that looked like arguing. The argument got heated. One of the enemy warriors raised its weapon toward Arath. In one fluid motion, she struck it down. The warrior collapsed unconscious. She spoke again, and this time there was no argument. The enemy Velcrans withdrew, simply turned and left, abandoning the ambush site. Arath turned to Taiwan. Her eyes found his across the distance. "You should not be here," she said. "You are dying." Then she was gone, disappearing into the shadows with her guards. Dongmin approached slowly, his weapon still raised but confused. "What the hell just happened?"
"She saved us," Taiwan whispered.
She risked her own position to save us. Back at base, the debriefing was chaos. Command wanted to know everything. How did a Velcran High Consul appear in the middle of their operation? Why did she stop the attack? What was her angle? Taiwan told them everything, and then he told them something else. She's serious about her offer, about healing me, and I think she's risking everything for it. Captain Hyejin was quiet for a long time after everyone else left. Finally, she spoke. Intel came back on Arath. Apparently her actions tonight didn't go unnoticed by her superiors. She's facing questions. Maybe court-martial by Velcran standards. They're saying she's putting personal honor above military duty. She saved my squad. Yes, why? The life debt. She said saving Velik created an obligation strong enough to betray her own military. Hyejin shook her head. Taiwan, I think there's more to this than debt. I think she's genuinely trying to end this war, and you're the key somehow. I'm just one soldier. You're the soldier who showed mercy when everyone else showed hate. That means something. Hyejin stood. You have 5 days left on your decision deadline. The medical team says your condition is accelerating. If you're going to accept her offer, it needs to be soon. That night, Taiwan couldn't stop thinking about Araith's face when she'd appeared in Busan, the way she'd put herself between him and danger, the way she'd faced down her own warriors to protect humans she had no reason to care about. Dongmin visited late, bringing contraband alcohol they weren't supposed to have. "Drink with me," he said. They sat in silence, passing the bottle back and forth. "I would take the deal," Dongmin said finally. "If it was me, I'd let her heal me." "Why?" "Because you're my best friend and I don't want you to die. Because she clearly gives a damn about you for some reason. Because maybe, just maybe if you accept, it shows both sides that peace is possible. That humans and Velcrans can be connected without killing each other. I'd be different, changed. So what? You'd still be you. Still the guy who ran into fire to save civilians. Still the guy who protected an enemy child for no reason except it was right. DNA doesn't change that." Taiwan took another drink. The alcohol burned, but it was nothing compared to the fire in his spine. "I'm scared," he admitted. "Of dying. Of living. Of becoming something people fear. Of losing myself." Dongmin was quiet for a moment. "You know what I think you're really scared of?" "What?" "That if you accept her help, it means the enemy isn't really the enemy anymore. It means everything is complicated. It means we've been killing people who might have been friends in another life." The words hit hard because they were true. "War is easier when the enemy is a monster," Taiwan said quietly. "When they have faces and children and mothers who cry, it's harder." "Yeah, but maybe that's the point. Maybe it should be hard." 2 days later, Taiwan collapsed during morning exercises. The pain had become unbearable. He woke up in the medical bay surrounded by worried faces. The doctor was blunt. 2 weeks, maybe 3. After that, the damage will kill you even if you change your mind about the healing. This is your last chance, Lieutenant. Taiwan lay there staring at the ceiling. Time had run out. He had to decide, live as something new, or die as himself. In his fevered dreams that night, he saw the Velcran child's face again. Those huge eyes, that small hand touching his cheek, saying thank you in a language without words. He'd saved that child not because of politics or strategy. He'd saved it because it was right. Maybe accepting help from its mother was right too. When morning came, Taiwan made his choice. The message was simple. 3 words sent through the neutral channels to Araith. "I accept. Help me." Her response came within an hour. Coordinates, a time, instructions. She would send a medical ship to a designated location outside the combat zone. Taiwan would come alone. The procedure would take 1 week. After that, everything would change. Captain Hee-jin stood in the hangar bay as Taewon prepared to leave. Her face was unreadable, a mask she wore when making impossible decisions. "This could be a trap," she said for the 10th time. "I know. You could die on that ship. I'm dying anyway." She stepped closer, lowering her voice so the other soldiers couldn't hear. "Or worse, they could turn you into a weapon against us, program you somehow, use the genetic bonding to control you. If they wanted to control humans, there are easier ways." Taewon shouldered his small pack. Everything he was bringing, one change of clothes, a photo of his family, nothing else. "I'm choosing to trust her." "Why? Because she saved your squad once?" "No. Because when I looked in her eyes, I saw someone tired of war. Someone looking for a way out." He paused. "I saw someone like us." Dongmin appeared, moving through the small crowd that had gathered to watch. He pulled Taewon into a hard embrace. "Come back," his friend said roughly. "Come back different, come back strange, I don't care. Just come back alive, I'll try. And Taewon, if it works, if you survive this, maybe you'll be the bridge. You know, between us and them. Maybe you'll be proof that we're not so different." The transport shuttle was small, unmarked. It would take Taewon to the neutral zone where Ara-ith's medical ship waited. As he boarded, he looked back at the faces of his unit. Some looked hopeful. Others looked betrayed, like he was abandoning humanity. Maybe he was. Maybe he was saving it. Time would tell. The flight took 3 hours. Taewon spent it trying not to think about the pain in his back, which had become a constant screaming presence. The fragments were winning. He could feel them spreading, claiming more of his nervous system every day. The Velcran medical ship appeared on the viewport like a massive flower made of crystal and metal. It was beautiful in an alien way, all flowing curves and bioluminescent lights, so different from the angular, practical human ships. As the shuttle docked, Taewon's hands shook, fear, anticipation, pain, all mixing together. The airlock opened, and he stepped into another world. The interior of the ship was organic. The walls seemed to breathe, pulsing gently with soft blue light. The air smelled of something like rain and electricity. And waiting for him in the corridor was Ara-ith. She wore simpler clothing now. Not armor, something flowing that moved like water. She looked less like a warrior and more like, he wasn't sure, a person. Just a person worried about someone they cared about. "Lieutenant Taewon, you came. Did you doubt I would?" "No, but I am grateful nonetheless." She gestured down the corridor. "Come, the medical bay is prepared. My best physicians are ready." They walked together through the living ship. Taewon saw other Velcrans watching from doorways and side passages. Their expressions were unreadable, but he felt their attention like pressure against his skin. "They're curious about you," Ara-ith said. "A human who saved a Velcran child. It challenges what they believe about your species." "What do they believe?" "That you are violent, primitive, incapable of mercy." She glanced at him. "You prove them wrong." The medical bay was large, dominated by a cylindrical chamber in the center. It was filled with glowing fluid connected to dozens of tubes and monitoring systems. 3 Velcran physicians moved around it, checking readings. Taewon's stomach tightened. That was where he would be. Submerged. Changed. "I won't lie to you," Ara-ith said quietly. "This will hurt. The process of integrating Velcran biotech with human physiology is difficult. We will keep you sedated as much as possible, but you will feel pain. Significant pain. How much pain? Imagine your body being taken apart and rebuilt at the cellular level. We are not replacing you. We are adding to you, teaching your cells to accept ours. It is a violent process, even when done carefully." Taewon looked at the chamber. His last chance to change his mind. His last moment as fully human. "Will I still be me?" "After?" Ara-ith was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know. The genetic bonding changes things. You will feel emotions that are not entirely your own. You will sense things you couldn't before. Your body will be stronger, faster, more resilient. But your mind, your memories, your core self, those remain. You will still be Taewon, but also part Velcran." "Yes. Neither one thing nor the other. Something new." She moved closer. "I will be honest. This terrifies me too. Not the procedure. I trust my physicians. But the bonding. Once it is complete, I will feel your emotions. You will feel mine. We will be connected in ways that are hard to explain. Family, but deeper than family. It is intimate, permanent. Can it be undone? No, this is forever, forever. Such a big word. Taewon thought about Dongmin's words, about being a bridge, about proving peace was possible. He thought about the Velcrin child in the rubble, and how one choice to show mercy had led to this moment. Let's do it, he said. The physicians moved quickly after that. They helped him change into a thin bodysuit that would dissolve in the chamber fluid, attached monitoring patches to his skin. They explained the process in clinical terms he barely understood. Ara'ith stayed by his side the entire time. When you wake, she said as they prepared the chamber, 7 days will have passed. The worst will be over, but you will feel strange, disoriented. I will be there. Thank you. For this, for everything. She touched his face gently, her hand cool and smooth. Thank you for saving my son. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for being brave enough to become something new. They helped him into the chamber. The fluid was warm, thicker than water. It smelled like thunderstorms. As it rose around him, Taewon felt his panic rising too. Breathe normally, a physician said. The fluid provides oxygen. You will not drown. The fluid covered his mouth, his nose, his eyes. For a moment, pure terror. Then his lungs pulled in the fluid and miraculously he could breathe. It felt wrong. Felt like drowning, but he was breathing. Through the translucent walls of the chamber, he saw Ara'ith watching. Her hand pressed against the crystal surface. Then the sedation kicked in, and the world went soft and blurry. The pain came in waves. Even through the drugs, Taewon felt it. His cells screaming as they were invaded by alien biology, his DNA unraveling and reweaving, his nervous system being mapped and enhanced, the fragments in his spine being dissolved and absorbed, their toxic presence transformed into something beneficial. He dreamed fevered dreams, memories mixing with things that weren't memories. He saw Velik as a baby, felt Ara'ith's grief when her mate died, experienced battles he'd never fought in. The genetic bonding was creating connections, building bridges between their minds. Sometimes he woke, gasping in the fluid, pain overwhelming everything. Physicians would adjust settings. Ara'ith's face would appear, mouthed words he couldn't hear through the fluid. Then darkness again. His body was changing. He could feel it. Muscles rebuilding stronger, bones becoming denser, nervous system rewiring itself, his senses expanding in ways that felt impossible. He could hear colors, see sounds. The world was becoming richer, deeper, overwhelming. On the 5th day, the pain reached its peak. Taewon screamed into the fluid, his body convulsing. Everything was fire. Everything was agony. He was dying. He was being born. He was becoming something that had never existed before. Ara'ith's presence flooded through the bond. Not words, just emotion, comfort, strength. She was with him, feeling his pain, trying to bear some of it herself. He held onto that presence like an anchor. Finally, on the 7th day, the pain receded. The process was complete. The chamber began to drain. Taewon collapsed as the fluid lowered, coughing, shaking. Hands caught him. Velcran physicians and Ara'ith supporting him as he emerged from his cocoon. He couldn't stand, could barely see. Everything was too bright, too loud, too much. Rest, Ara'ith said, her voice now carrying layers he hadn't heard before. He could sense her relief, her joy, her fear all mixing together. You survived. The worst is over. They carried him to a recovery room, laid him on a bed that adjusted to his body. Taewon fell into deep sleep, exhausted beyond measure. When he finally woke, truly woke, everything was different. The first thing he noticed was the absence of pain. His back, which had screamed for months, was silent. Whole. He could move without agony for the first time since the explosion. The second thing was his senses. He could hear the ship's heartbeat, literally hear the living vessel breathing around him, could see energy patterns in the walls, could smell emotions in the air. He raised his hand and stared at it. It looked the same. Human skin, human fingers. But when he focused, he could see faint patterns beneath the surface. Bioluminescent markers, Velcrin genetics woven into his own. Ara'ith entered the room. She stopped when she saw him awake, and emotions flooded through their new bond. Joy, relief, nervousness, pride. How do you feel? She asked. Taewon sat up slowly. His body responded perfectly. No pain, no weakness. He felt strong, more than strong, enhanced. I feel different, good different, strange different. I can sense you. Your emotions. It's overwhelming? Yes.